Welcome back to another edition of F the News. My name is Beth and this is Shed Show Talk, and today we're going to take a look at potential false flag events, UFOs, missile alerts, and all the combinations in between. We're going to look at some tweets, some news links, and you get to vote whether or not you think each story is fact or fiction. Okay, so for our first tweet that we're going to F up, I have a tweet here by poll/news returned, and poll insinuates through a photo that an employee was negligent or allegedly negligent by posting a sticky note on their monitor with a passcode. And I say allegedly because there's no fact checking this. There is a post by someone called Anonymous with an ID number, and I've attempted to source that information, but my website keeps freezing, so perhaps one of you at Shed Show Talk can do some digging into this photo. If it's true, if there was a passcode left in plain sight during the missile incident in Hawaii, then I suspect there's going to be a very serious investigation into not only the staff person, but everybody else involved. This would seem like a huge, huge, huge oversight. So I struggle to believe that this is fact, but it is something I want to investigate. So my question for you, is this photo posted on Twitter fact or fiction? Okay, the second tweet we're going to take a look at is by Dominic DeAngelis. He's a verified Twitter user, which potentially means he actually is who he says he is, which is super rare on Twitter. And he has about 224,000 Twitter followers. So when he makes an observation about recent events, you know that he has captured the attention of a lot of people. In this case, he's talking about satellite rocket launchers, how SpaceX lost a military satellite. And although he's having fun with words there where he says lost in space, it was actually lost in the ocean. And Bloomberg did an article on January 8th by Anthony Capaccio and Dana Hall, and they spoke with a U.S. official and two congressional aides who were familiar with this, and they confirmed that a military satellite was lost at sea. Now, I know Dominic's tweet was having fun with the concept of being lost in space because it's SpaceX and it's a satellite, but the truth of the matter is it was lost at sea, and this happened days before Hawaii's false alarm, which comes to Dominic's point number 4. Hawaii's false alarm, days later Japan has a false alarm. Now, is there a connection between the SpaceX loss of a military satellite and then the false alarm military announcement both in Hawaii and then days later in Japan? That's what's so intriguing about Dominic's tweet, is that he is asking a question which has a very serious implication. But let's take a look at one of his other tweets, because keep in mind he tweeted this on the 17th of January, and then just recently he actually tweeted this picture of what is called a meteor. But if you look at the trail and the fact that it is straight up and down, one might suggest it wasn't a meteor. But let's get back to his original tweet, because this is definitely a rabbit hole. If I go back to his original tweet, my question for you guys, is his tweet fact or fiction? Okay, this tweet is all about a rocket alarm that sounded in southern Israel. And this tweet was put out on January 16th, but the event actually occurred on January 12th, and it was reported by Albo News. Now, I don't know anything about Albo News, so it's part of our fact checking that we're going to take a look at a later date. But here's what they said. An impending rocket alarm had been reportedly sounded in southern Israel to warn of a rocket inbound, and if you look down, it says the sirens were a false alarm, as confirmed by the IDF. So here's another major superpower on the same team. Hawaii is part of the US. Japan is part of the new military connection of Western powers, and you have Israel as well, which is a known ally. And each of these countries have had some form of a false alarm. So what is going on? Are they testing out a system that simply isn't working? Has someone actually hacked into these nations and been able to trigger these alarms? Or is there another operation going altogether, which is what Dr. Stephen Greer talked about, a false flag, preparing people for an incoming invasion that isn't actually an invasion? Now, it's just one of the conspiracy theories that are out there. And my question for you is, do you believe that this false flag event, tying the Allied powers, drawing people into a mega war, is that fact or is that fiction? We're all familiar by now with Hawaii and Japan having a missile false alert. But what I found interesting when I went to go check up on Twitter to see what people were saying about the Japan missile is there's fundamentally different conversations going on. And what I pulled up was this tweet right here. And this gentleman has posted an article by RT.com questioning the motives for the false missile alert and also the purchase of a U.S. missile system. So let's take a look here. So here's a snippet from the article, and they actually quote a former Australian diplomat who had mentioned that this might be an opportune time for Japan to increase its military presence in the region. And later in the article, they actually go as far as to say, whether or not it's true, they actually go as far as to say that Japan might be the first line of offense in a U.S. military strategy in the region. This is totally explosive, and it's definitely over my pay grade. But the reason I'm pointing it out to you is sometimes you can go on Twitter just to go find some interesting information or to go fact check or to go see what's going on, and then you're presented with information that maybe your evening news didn't cover for you. So my question for you is, do you believe that the Japanese missile alert was part of a false flag event? Or do you believe that it was simply an error? So in other words, was it a fact or was it a fiction? Was the alert real or was the alert false? Let me know in the comments section. Next, we're going to take a look at a potential UFO sighting during all of this. In this episode of F the News, we've looked at several possibilities as to what happened with the false missile alerts in Hawaii, Japan, and in Israel. We've looked at some of the conventional topics, such as human error, and of course, then there's things like technical error, which we know can happen. But due to the pattern, which was revealed on Twitter and in other locations, people are starting to suspect that it's tied to a deeper political agenda or a military agenda. Now, who's driving it is completely unknown because, of course, it is beneath the surface of what most people have access to discover. So is it a hack from a foreign power? Is it an intervention from a cabal of corporate economic interests? These are questions that people have asked on Twitter. But one of the things that we talk about on Shed Show Talk is UFOs. And one of the very popular discussions going on in the UFO community is something called a false flag attack. Now, many of you already know about this, but it's talked about by Dr. Stephen Greer. And it's actually also talked about in spiritual circles and religious circles when they talk about an apocalypse or other events. They talk about a cataclysmic event that comes when humanity gets to the point of needing security to the very measure that they're willing to give up all their civil liberties, rights, and freedoms. So perhaps this is the precipice for one of those false flag events. If so, wouldn't you find it very curious if there was a UFO sighting? Oh wait, there was. Solaris Modalis posted this tweet on the 14th of January indicating that there had been a sighting of UFOs on January 13th during a live CNN broadcast. Now, I searched high and low for the original credits, both for the photos and also for the CNN broadcast. I have not yet found the original CNN broadcast, but I did find the original Facebook post, and I'm going to show it to you now. Now, I blotted out the name because I don't have confirmation that this person wants to be revealed, but they used a hashtag in a public group, so I do know that this is publicly accessible, and you can do your own search on Facebook to locate it and do your own digging. Now, I don't know anything about the Galactic Federation of Light. What interests me here are the photos themselves. Do you see these lines that go across here? This is indicative that this person had taken these photos off of a TV screen. You can also see right here what appears to be KHON, which is one news source that I actually researched to see if I could get the footage from them, but I wasn't yet able to find the original footage. Stay tuned. If I get the original footage, we'll definitely have an episode about this sighting. Now, if we take a look at the UFO itself, and it is a UFO because it's unidentified, it's flying, and it is an object. Actually, it's many objects. This item right now in the circle is what fascinates me the most, because we see this kind of transparency, but also this sort of disc-like line in the middle. So there's a couple of thoughts with UFOs that are really popular right now. The first thought is that they're from another dimension or another planet. The other thought is that UFO technology has been here for a while, and the military-industrial complex or other groups have been able to replicate it and develop it for human function. Now, whatever you think is going on, I don't believe that what you're seeing right here is atmospheric. I don't believe that's atmospheric. This right here, to be determined. It could be part of the cloud system that you see over here. But what's above it? I mean, this would be a huge size. So here's the question for our viewers. Do you believe that a false flag event involving UFOs is fact or fiction? And second question, just a follow-up question. Do you believe that these are UFOs that either triggered or responded to an actual threat to Hawaii? So in other words, is this the reason why the missile alert system went off to begin with? Was there something detected that could create a missile type impression that would have triggered the system? Or, like in previous histories, do UFOs appear after or during the process of a missile launch? And there is a history of this happening in the United States. So there's lots of questions about what we're seeing right here. Now, if any of you find the footage from KHON or CNN, please email it to us at Shed Show Talk, because it will become a video in and of itself. And I know Paul loves doing UFO news videos, and he's really good at them. So I'd love to see what he does with this. But in the meantime, I'm going to welcome you to join our community here at Shed Show Talk by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell. This whole channel is about a conversation, and we want to welcome you to the conversation. So hit that subscription button. And my name is Beth. I'll see you next time. This is Shed Show Talk.